Okay, we're going to take you straight to the courthouse now in Minneapolis, where the verdict is about to be announced. Let's listen in. And the judge there, who has been dealing with this trial, hearing evidence from both sides for at least 3 weeks. Highly emotive case.
I understand you have a verdict.
And here we go.
Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, Count 1. Court File Number 27, CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury foreperson 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 19, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 27, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 44, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 79, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 89, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 91, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 92, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Are these your verdicts? So say you one, so say you all.
Yes.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will be filed accordingly. I have to thank you on behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota for not only jury service, but heavy-duty jury service. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to follow the deputy back into your usual room, and I will join
Judge Peter Cahill there in the courthouse in Minneapolis, hearing those verdicts. Count 1, unintentional second-degree murder, guilty. Count 2, third-degree murder, guilty. And count 3, second-degree manslaughter, also guilty. Guilty of all the charges. Let's go to our North America correspondent, Nick Bryant, who's also in Minneapolis for us tonight. Nick, this is what the family, this is what the prosecution, and indeed it seems the President of the United States wanted.
Clive, you've taken the words out of my mouth. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Exactly what the Floyd family wanted. Exactly what the protesters wanted. And it seems exactly what the President of the United States, Joe Biden, wanted as well. He made this extraordinary intervention early on while the jury was considering its verdict, while they were sequestered in a hotel. He said he'd spoken to the Floyd family and that he'd prayed for justice, and that on the evidence that he's seen, he was hoping for a guilty verdict. And that is what has happened. Guilty of second-degree murder. That's unintentional murder. Guilty of third-degree murder. Guilty of the manslaughter charge as well. And the worst charge in that carries a maximum sentence of 40 years. And actually, prosecutors have indicated they might actually try and get additional years added on to that sentence. And the question, Clive, is, as you know, how will this verdict be received around the country? For a lot of African Americans, there will be a sense that justice has been done in this case, but obviously they're looking for justice across the board in so many other areas of their life. So this has been such a moment of racial reckoning, but the question remains whether this will be a moment of racial reconciliation. As you and I both know, this country is so bitterly divided along its angriest fault line of race, but at least this verdict may calm the mood. So many cities are doing what Minneapolis have done today, which is to board up in anticipation of furious protests. Well, there won't be fury on the streets tonight, but there may be protests on the streets tonight, and that always carries the potential of trouble. But, as you say, this is the verdict that the protesters in this trial and the family of George Floyd so dearly wanted.
Nick, thank you for that. Nick Bryant there in Minneapolis. We're going to go back to the city now and talk to Lebo Diseko, our correspondent, who's actually standing outside the store where George Floyd died almost exactly a year ago. Lebo, lots of security on the streets. The authorities worried about protests and crowds. What's the situation now?
Well, Clive, as each of those verdicts was given, people here cheered. People were watching, and I heard people clapping, cheering as each of the guilty counts was read. I was speaking to people before the verdict came in, and they were saying to me that the only verdict they would accept as justice was guilty on all counts, and that really that would be the beginning of not even a healing. Somebody described it to me as a chance to reset when you take into account all of the racism, the legacy of white supremacy in this country. That is how it was described to me, and somebody compared it to placing your leg in a cast after a break. It doesn't put things right, but it's the beginnings of a start of healing.
Lebo, thank you for that. Lebo Diseko live in Minneapolis there. Let's get some wider perspective now from our North America editor, Jon Sopel, who is in Washington. John, the death of George Floyd, it sparked riots across America. It sparked protests around the world. And the president, we know, has intervened today. How would you sum up the state of relations, race relations in America following this verdict now?
Well, I'm sure some people, Clive, will think, well, the state of Minnesota has taken the case against Derek Chauvin. Case closed, verdict delivered. I think it is anything but that. I think the tension in this country has been palpable. Joe Biden, just down the road from here, has been huddled around the TV set along with his key aides. I'm sure he's going to come out and have words to say very shortly. The National Guard in Washington has been mobilized for fear of trouble. It is the same across the country. States of emergency have been declared because of what might have unfolded and what might still unfold. Because this isn't about just Mr. Chauvin. This is about justice in America and the sense that if you are black, you're more likely to be arrested, more likely to be charged. In the case of George Floyd, die at the hands of the police. So there is two questions that I think come out of this. One is criminal justice. Can criminal justice be properly delivered to the African American population in this country, to minorities who feel that the odds are stacked against them? And the second question is about who polices the police. Is there going to be police reform at the end of this that will somehow change the equation and make black people feel in this country that they are treated evenly and that justice, to use the old hackneyed phrase, is blind, or in this particular case, colourblind? The whole idea of the US Constitution, it's in the preamble, is to create a more perfect union. In other words, to keep the country together as one. Maybe at the end of this, a small step has been taken forward, but I think campaigners would argue that even after this, there is still a very long way to go.
OK, John, thank you for that. Jon Sopel there, live in Washington.